Very good morning to you all. Today I have a new topic, again modern science and ancient science. I'm going to talk about the conflict between modern science and the ancient literature, or you can say science. And the basic questions what I would like to bring to you is why the modern scientists do not ascribe to ancient literature or the ancient science which existed in the prehistoric times. So before going to detail of that, I would like to share a slide which will give you a very basic information on what science is and how it is defined and why we are not able to ascribe to that. So science is basically defined as a process to look at certain phenomenon in view of what could be the region of that phenomenon happening around us in terms of the material objects. So, or even non-material objects also. So the basic phenomena and basic way of steps, way of doing science is when we see certain phenomenon happening around us, we think of why this happens, and we try to have some knowledge about the rules which govern that kind of phenomenon to happen. And for that purpose, science is defined as a process by which we try to hypothesize what could be the region, then design an experiment to find out how to measure the parameters which can define that phenomenon in terms of an observation and measured values, and then we try to observe what is happening during the experiments and what are the results we are getting as an outcome of an experiment, and then we try to look at these results in comparison with the already existing results or rules or knowledge, and we try to correlate these two things to reach to a conclusion. This is a basic science definition, and we know that modern science was developed from 15th century, and in the 6 centuries we came to a very modern stage from the place where we were struggling to see whether Earth was revolving around Sun or Sun was revolving around Earth. So the modern science, after coming from that preliminary place, now it deals with matter and the response of this matter to external stimuli, whether this stimuli is from the material part of it or basically energetics or vibrational part. And the whole process of science is called a rational process, and this is what is claimed. And I do agree with the process because this is how our inquisitiveness in knowing the things can be satisfied. But the point is, we are doing science for the last 600 years basically based on our inquisitiveness. So whether our ancestors were not inquisitive, in my opinion, they were similarly inquisitive as we are today. And they would have been looking at the world around them in the same fashion the way we do today. So why we do not accept the literature what they have written uh, and the things what they had done today? Because they did it and somehow they recorded some of it, but uh, the point is why we today are not able to ascribe those knowledge to the scientific inquisitiveness. For example, we know that there were a number of ancient civilizations starting from India, China, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, then Mexico, then Maya civilization. So there were a number of civilizations they were existed earlier, and all these civilizations have contributed immensely to the development of the human being and uh, in their well-being, in their food, in their survival, in their psychological well-being. All these things were taken care of by the knowledge shared or recorded by these civilizations. So all this knowledge may be may not be trusted as the modern scientists say in most of the cases. I'm not saying that all the scientists say like that, but only thing was what we should recognize is the still existing architecture of the monuments available in the world. For example, you know that there are so many different monuments still available or existing in the world, and today also we are not able to understand how 5,000 or 4,000 or even 6,000 years ago people were able to make such huge monuments, and how could they do that? So definitely today to make an Eiffel Tower, to make an aeroplane, to go high in the sky or anything, we depend upon the science we have done in the last 600 years. Then why do we not agree with the point that these people, our ancestors, would also have a developed science and they would have built these kind of architectures based on their scientific knowledge? We cannot say that they always worked on trial and error basis, but I personally believe that there was a good amount of science done in the last 6,000 to 7,000 years. When we could develop so much in the last 600 years, and why we do not accept that 7,000 years is good enough for people to develop? That is other issue that in between there might be some kind of catastrophe which might have led to the destruction of these civilizations. That has happened, but we cannot straight away in a straight way reject the science what we had developed earlier. There are two ways. One is looking at the world in terms of material or matter, and other way is looking at the world in terms of vibrations and energy. So in my opinion, there were two sects in in our ancestors. Like in Veda, there were rituals. Karma Kand we say there were rituals which were related to material world, and there were Upanishads which dealt in meditation, yoga, and energetics. We cannot measure that, but I believe those were there. And when today we have instruments to measure different parameters of material world, but that time it might not have been possible to measure these parameters, but Some people, they went away from the material world and they might have thought that there are some other things, and based on their that thought process, they might have come to a conclusion that there are some things away or beyond the material world. And today, we generally do not believe on this, but I have a firm belief that we should not in a straight way disbelieve these things. We have to make an inquiry on these aspects of the literature. For example, we know we have Bhagavad Gita. We have Upanishads. If you go through all 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, it gives you a very good reason to read it and modify your actual life so that you can have better disposition in your life. Upanishads, they are the true representation of the energetics, basically, which is not rituals, but they are energetics. I believe in such things in terms of meditation and all those aspects of life. Then spiritual experiences and its account have been given in many of this of such literatures. And there are experiences beyond body and mind. We know that in Indian subcontinent, as well as in Greece and Egypt, in Mayan civilizations, there were a lot of people who experienced the metaphysical. They had a metaphysical experience, and that led them to modify their way of life based on their experiences. Then we have Ayurveda, we have yoga, we have meditation, and we have Hastamudra. Today, even in whole world is ready to see that how Ayurveda works, how yoga works in the well-being of people, and how meditation can relieve all the unwanted things in your life in psychological terms, and hastamudras, and all these things basically give sight to only one aspect of life, that in this material world we are not only made of material, but there are other things which are equally important for the well-being of the world. And today, after 600 years of the development of the world, we could see whatever science does today, it helps the human being or the world in obviating some problem, and after some time, the same result gives rise to some other problem. And then science goes on to find a solution for that other problem. This cycle, a vicious cycle is going on for years and years. And today, the environmental effect of the modern thought process is very much visible to all of us. And in that respect, today, all this literature and Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, all these things are they are the gist of the previous 6,000 years of exploration that gave us the way of life, and which can help us in developing a way of life which is sustainable. So for we are today talking about sustainable development, and I suppose that all this literature and the from the ancient civilization and the knowledge they give us and the teachings they give us, those knowledge are the basic premise on which we can have a sustainable world. And this is why it is very much necessary that modern science look also on the spiritual part of the material world, and not only looking at the material world, but also on the spiritual world. It may not be possible to have a measurement of what is happening uh, to the society by doing all these things which is not material, but I understand that a long-term research on the effect of following of these literature and the knowledge may give rise to a very good understanding of the life on the earth. And this is why I came here to bring to you the conflict between modern science and the ancient science. And I suppose that modern science and ancient science should come together to devise a way for a good life for the human being. Thank you. Thank you very much.